Hey, how's it going? So, I want to say one thing right off the bat here. I am playing in the background Faith by Limp Bizkit, the awesome cover of the George Michael song Faith, which is also awesome in its way. And now I'm going to show you my YouTube disclaimer business. Um, I hope that's good. I hope it was good and visible. Now, let's see if I can maneuver this back onto my stubborn little stand. Grogu don't want to work today. All right, there we go, little guy. Okay, let me make a little adjustment. Sorry about that. So, I had a completely other plan for what I was going to do. I am going to talk about Free Guy, the movie from uh, Disney, I guess, and it's from 2021. It stars Ryan Reynolds and what was the young lady's name? Jodie Comer and Joe Keery, who you'll know from Stranger Things, or that's where I know him from, and then also a comedian I'd heard of, but I'd never really seen, named Lil Rel Howery. That's gonna make me spit my teeth right out. So I'm not gonna say it again, but he plays Buddy. Um, uh, I'll just tell you, it has like a super duper cast. I'm not like writing everything down. It has Utkarsh Ambudkar, who I'd never heard of, but he plays Mauser. But he looked kind of familiar, so he's probably in a bunch of stuff. Takiti, sorry, God, I'm just mangling names. Taika Waititi, he plays Antoine. Antoine, I just can't talk right now. Um, um, I don't know. You can do what I do if you want to know in detail who else is in the cast, because there's a lot of people. And the reason why I didn't prepare it is because, as I said, I was planning on doing something else. Excuse me. And I didn't get a drink. I had secured permission from a friend of mine to play his band's music. And because he's an old friend, I mean, I've known him since I was in my early teens, and I'm, you know, past my mid 50s now. So, known him a long time, good friend. And it was just really good to talk to him and just get in touch with somebody from home that I know, since I've not been in LA or Hollywood for like 30 years now. It's kind of hard to make friends at this age, and then you're someplace where you didn't go to school, so you don't have that base of people that you just know around, that familiarity. And I miss it. It's kind of rough. I mean, I moved here from California, so I'm in the Pacific Northwest now, and specifically for a reason. And I have not been able to make that happen, and so that's well, I could feel better about that, honestly, but it's just become sort of like I tend to have like a solitary type of existence anyway, because that's just kind of how I like it. But you do need to interact with people, so it's just rough. Um, but until I talked to my friend, I didn't realize how rough. Like I didn't really like let myself feel it too much because it's kind of futile. I mean, it's good to like get upset, go through it, get it out of your system. But I mean, I've done it many times. I just didn't want to do it again. Don't want to do it right now, that's for sure. But as I said, as I was putting it together, it started to get special. Like the outline for what I wanted to say, the things that I needed to do to make the recording, which was a special case. Like, can I not have a time where I'm going to record and I don't have some sort of mechanical problem? So this time it was. a CD issue, compact disc issue. So I have a player that I can listen to on my headphones, and I can't get track down anything to make a speaker work on that thing. It's driving me nuts. And I have a boombox where the CD player works when it wants to, I guess. It has been sitting on my shelf in the living room. I use it all the time. It, I did not want to bring it in here because I had to like dismantle the whole side of my setup. It's a mess, but it's like I know where stuff is, and now it's a worse mess because I took that boombox in here, couldn't put it together, so I had to carry speakers and the unit that the brain is in, and just this, it's probably pretty obvious what room I'm in. It's the bathroom, and it's big because it's meant for somebody with a wheelchair. You got to have space, but you know, I got like my laptop in here. I got dragged all of that thing in here, and the boombox. I plugged it in. It would not play a CD. It was on. It was like, okay, the CD player is active, but it wouldn't do anything. None of the buttons would work. So, trash that idea. It's only the fourth time I've tried to do this. Uh, The last videos I made, I was planning to do that because I wanted to highlight my friend's band. It got special not only because he's a friend, but he did something that no one else has done with music. The certain band I was in where I wrote a lot of the lyrics and music of the recording that we had made. We were only together for, I think, 8 months as a band, and I was the oldest at 15 years old. Like everybody else was 2 years younger than me. So that was three people. And then our singer was 11. So that was special. But, in retrospect, it's terrible, but whatever. It was like something that I did, like a whole, I've never written songs before. I just did it. But I actually did it. They may have been bad and amateurish and whatever. But I mean, still today, that was in the 1980s. Still today, I have people that are fans, like this friend. And rather than just taking liberty with my material, like the movie Don't Be Afraid to Pogo, which is about another band from LA called The Gears. But they had scenes of my band playing, which meant that whether or not it was a song that I wrote, but it most likely was because I wrote most of our songs, at least in part too, if not all, all myself. So out of like 7 songs, I wrote like 6.5 or 5.5. It was just likely that it was going to be something I wrote. And do you think anybody asked me if it was okay? And this is what kills me. So-called friend of mine who was actually working on it. He's a filmmaker himself, but like a much smaller like level. And I even talked to him at the time, and I wondered why I was doing something that I never do because I don't talk about this band. I don't like bring it up all the time and whatever. Like it, if I don't tell you these days, you have no idea about it or me being in it. So I would talk to his this guy like on Facebook fairly frequently, and he was working on this movie, this Don't Be Afraid to Pogo, and they had my stuff in there. And I kept saying to him, I never do this. Those songs, I wrote those songs. I wrote most of those songs. Like I kept telling him over and over, and it's like making me feel kind of sick because it's like all needy feeling. But and like I said, I don't normally do that, so it was just weird. Then come to find out a year later, this movie comes out. My band's in it, and if the band is playing, whether they show me or not, I'm in the performance. So I'm owed money or at least recognition or even at the leaster. You could have asked. I would have said, fine, knock yourself out. I'm not looking to like bank on that. But it's just so disrespectful. Like, And I know the filmmaker. Well, I don't know him, but we moved in the same circles. Like I know he knows who I am, and I know who he is. And actually, I don't think he's ever said a word aloud to me. I did have a whole conversation with him once, and he just stood there and smiled, and I didn't get a feeling that he was unfriendly, but I should have put it together that that's kind of what it was. I'm assuming, I guess, because he did this. Like, it would not have been fine to hard me. There's face. It would have been not fine to hard me. It would not have been hard to find me. You know, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Google. He knows I was in Mad Society, which was the band. And the movie came out, and then after the fact, I find out that this other guy, I'm not even going to mention his stinking name because he just didn't even tell me what other. I know he's underhanded, and I know he's a thief. So I'm not going to promote him in any way. Well, every time I talk to him, which was a bunch, and I'm sitting there saying, like, I wrote this, and hating myself, I realized later that I kind of knew on some level that he knew he was stealing my shit now. And he just wasn't going to tell me. Like it wasn't, I don't know his part. I'm assuming that it didn't, it wasn't his idea to put us in the movie, right? We just played with bands like the Gears. We played with the Gears a lot. No one bothered to just ask. Like all they would have had to do is ask. And then when I finally confronted this so-called friend about it, he's like, "Oh, well, it's just a documentary. We don't make that much money." I'm like, "I don't give a shit how much you make. You're making it off of my product." Like, but he has a history of stealing other people's stuff. I don't know that he had control of like the idea of like, here, let's just steal this person's stuff and put it in this movie. And the other thing is there, I guess, was an interview with the singer who his contribution was sing this, stand here, look this way. Like the only reason he was in it was because his mother said his brother, his older brother, well, his only brother. So, but his mom said that like the brother couldn't do it unless the little guy could do it. And like I said, like, you know, we were kind of older than him by a lot, but okay, fine. He tagged along. We made him the singer. He wrote nothing. He didn't never learn anything while I was around him to be able to do that. And I don't know, it's just got to be a weird thing, but nobody told me what was going on, and I just thought it was really lame because they didn't know people. They got us gigs. They didn't know club owners. They didn't know anybody. Like I knew everybody. And I, in retrospect, learned that they hold that all against me. So sorry, sorry. You know, they wanted to start a band. Nobody knew how to play anything but me. And our eventual drummer, he already knew how to play. Everybody else had to learn. So it's just like a weird dynamic. They have this impression of the way things were, and I have this other one. And yes, I was bossy and had stuff to say because I knew what we were supposed to be doing to make what we were doing work. And we lost an incredibly, like, I don't know how lucrative it would have been. It really was not about that. It was more about the honestly prestige. We lost out on a huge opportunity to play with like punk rock icons. The singer invited us to go on tour with them, and that just got blown up. Like to spite me, they spited them too. But also in retrospect, to go with those people for the older ones of us, particularly me or our manager who was a little older than me, like, you know, by like 8, 10 years. Yeah, it was probably have been like dicey for her too. So probably would not have been a good idea. But I don't know how long it would have worked out because you know even the ones that weren't as young as the youngest one had never been away from home that way. I had, you know, but it might have messed up the little one a lot. I think of him still now. Thanks for thinking of me when they made that movie. Okay, that's done. But this thing that I want to do here, it got special, as I said, because my friend bothered to ask me if his band could play my music. And I said, as long as you make sure you're playing the ones I wrote, play it all you want. That's just fine. I wasn't, I didn't get money from the group. I'm not looking for money from him. I'm not looking for money to do this. I would not turn it down, but I'm not like seeking it outrightly, and I just would have appreciated if someone would ask. So this friend did, and I'm not gonna talk about him or the band any more than that because eventually I'm gonna get a dang CD player in here and it'll be a completely different movie or show. But yeah, I'm gonna do it. So I almost didn't come on to do this because I'm all irritable about the way things worked out. I mean, hi, I'm in a wheelchair. There's a reason I'm in a wheelchair. I'm not like entirely able. So moving all this stuff in here and getting myself all gussied up was like a waste of time. I had all this energy and then it got kind of like a little messed up. But all is not terrible. Good things happened in the day or evening or whatever it was. So can't forget that. And as far as that other stuff, I'm assuming that some sort of retribution will be had on the part of those people for like being so crappy and not bothering to tell me or even just ask. Like i'm I'm gonna just make a wild assumption here, but the so-called friend that worked on the movie, I'm gonna assume he thought because we're friends he could just go ahead and decide to put my stuff in there without talking to me. And because they interviewed those other two kids, or I don't know if it was the other two. I think it was just one, but because they interviewed him, they thought that it was okay to use my stuff. Well, it wasn't his to give. So I would like someone to say, "Hey, sorry about that. It wasn't mine to take." And if there's money, I don't care if it's a documentary. I don't care if it's $7. I want it. I don't. I mean, if it was him in my position, he'd be saying the same thing. And I don't want to hear about, oh, it was just stupid kid stuff you made. It was good enough for you to put in your movie. It's good enough for you to pay me what you owe me. And it, you know, what is it? The base rate for SAG. Like, that's all I want. Why are you being such a wiener about it? Okay, so now I want to talk about Free Guy. What am I doing on time here? Woo, I'm getting long. Okay, so Free Guy was good because it was positive. It was happy. And here's what I liked about it. It's a cute little story inside the story. I mean, there's a lot of stories that go on, but what appealed to me was that the girl, the female lead, um, what's her name? Her character's name is Millie or Molotov girl in the game. I guess she's Millie in real life, also. So, she is partners with Keys, who is from Stranger Things. His name is Joe Keery. The actor's name is Joe Keery that plays Keys. And he is partnered up with Millie, and they have written a code for a game. And Millie's kind of like, uh, I think, I guess, lovelorn. It doesn't seem like she's all torn up about it, so I don't know if that's the right word, but I think she's kind of seeking. Like she's there for it if it happens, right? And she doesn't realize that Keys is like totally fallen for her, and he sees that she doesn't see, so he still wants to do. he likes her. He may love her. He wants to do like nice things. So he kind of helps her fulfill her wishes inside this game that they are both sort of working for under their boss named Anton. But the thing about this game, it's like a sub story again, is that Millie and Keys have made a game and like they wrote this code and then Antoine stole it and didn't credit them. That's why I was going on, I guess, about my thing. And so that's like this whole big sort of like aggression throughout the movie. And it's like there's espionage and just by like not well kind of like stealing back their own material, so I guess you could call it espionage, but also just like sneaking around in action. And so since Keys can't seem to get with Millie himself in real life, like he can't even get her to notice that he's into her, and he doesn't want to push her. It's like this, he's like totally unreal. Like it's in the script, okay. Um, but he wants to make her wish come true. So in the game that they're working on, or that he works on, I don't know that she works there. She's she's a freelancer, I think. I think she works for Antoine too on some level. But Keys is like in there with like pretty upper level staff. It seems like because he's such a good coder, and they have tried to sue Antoine to get their material back from him, and they know that he's got it in the game. And so in order to like make Millie happy, Keys gives Free Guy more than like just a background character would have. Like he gives him personality, he gives him like emotions, he gives him depth, and he like sort of crafts the kind of guy that he knows Millie would like, and she does indeed end up falling for him, which is there's a lot more women than guys, so I'm gonna guess this is not typical for me. But you kind of find yourself falling for like the unattainable, and an AI is like the most unattainablest you can be. And I just gotta kind of wrap it up here. So in the story, everything, of course, resolves in a positive way, and there's a happy ending, and Antoine, who's the evil boss, eventually gets his, but not too bad because they're not like bad, terrible people. And they get the game to help. And what I liked how the game helped, it was like I have been talking about workers in America, or not even just workers, just people in America and probably all over the world. But I'm from the United States, so that's what I'm going to talk about. And there's a lot of us that we could have what we need if not for like the overarching sort of corporate political structure in America that is like, we'll just take from you and create these situations that are just going to work against you. And then when you're having trouble and you have nowhere to live and you have no money and you can't afford anything, and it's like they create these situations and then try to blame you when you are like stuck living outside and you can't get a job. And it's like, you need to pull yourself up. And it's like, we pull ourselves up and then you drop like trucks on us. It's crazy. So in the game, and I always say, the power that people have is to not show up at these jobs. Like definitely, it can be done a number of ways, but I think like if everybody across the board, like even like black people of whatever stripe and cops, despite what they've done, they have gripes too. And it's not us who they also blame because that's what their dad bosses taught them, I guess. They get the crap end of the stick too. They don't have a great job. I mean, they have a right to be afraid, but there's so much. But honestly, like if all of us that weren't all super rich and controlling everybody and forcing people to do things they don't want to do that are just like unnatural and wrong, you don't show up. You just don't go. And like, yeah, there has to be something done for people that are in hospital or dangerous situations like fires or like people got to eat. Like rent has to be paid, bills have to be paid. Like there has to be a structure created before something like that can happen, and like that's why you can do it in very varied ways. Um, like targeted areas, and maybe not in all at once, but the most effective would be all at once. So I'm always talking about it. I have been talking about it since like 2014, and I'm so glad to see strikes again. Or again. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I was alive when like that stuff still happened. Cesar Chavez and the Grape thing. It's you have to assert yourself, and they are overlords are so full of themselves they just think they can do whatever to us, and we got to stand up or get squashed, right? So that's our weapon, and that's what they did in Free Guy. Like they just took away Antoine's options to fight back against what Keys and Millie were doing with Free Guy in the game. And then Free Guy enlisted all the game people to not be where they were supposed to be. So, like, nothing worked in the game, and it was just messing Antoine up, and that's how they won. And then, I'm not gonna, I spoil a lot, but I'm not gonna spoil this part. Let's just say something happened, and then there was a reboot, but Free Guy, when he came back to the new session, he had to be reminded of who he was and what was going on. But what he also did was he had the depth to understand that Keys was the guy she should be with, and that he was like unattainable. Like they enjoy each other's company and they get along and they can play the game, but IRL, it's Keys for her. And it's like the AI has to tell her that. I'm not sure. I have to think about that more, but there's something in that that applies to us people. So it was a good experience, a really pleasure pleasurable experience to watch this movie. Ryan Reynolds is, you know, really good at what he does. I know that on Twitter I did one of my sort of hot take reviews on red number, red member, no, red ticket. The movie he did with The Rock and Gal Gadot. Okay, um, I said that I kept waiting for it to be good instead of glib. And by that I meant it was well produced, it looked great, everybody was good, but it was so shiny and like patent leather and just so. I mean, I actually sat there and was like, okay, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, and I was right like every time. That's bad. You do not want that in your movie. You want people to be like, oh yeah, I know what's going on. And go, oh wait, no, wait, oh, never mind. Let me pay attention. That's what you want. You do not want someone sitting there going, well, it looks nice and everybody's pretty, but boring. And that's how I felt. And I felt like they could have done better. I felt like it was kind of glib. They're like, let's just do blah, 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 blah. Everybody likes this at it. And it was like it had no substance. So, that aside, I love Ryan Reynolds actually. Like Deadpool 2, oh my god. I was laughing so hard, so loud. My neighbors were like, are you okay? Like they thought I had something, like I was hurt or something, because they know I don't really have anyone that I live with or whatever. And they just wanted to make sure I wasn't having some kind of, spaz or something. Well, I was, but it was a good kind. So, okay, I gotta wrap it up. Anyway, I did a very minute job as far as presentation of like background material here, but I'm just gonna say, do what I do. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos about Free Guy and just got some other information. I went to IMDb and I watched the movie. So all I can do is say I recommend it. It was good. If you want to be in a good mood and laugh, it has action, it has violence, it has game stuff. It has stars, lots of them. It has puns and references and Easter eggs. It's like all those good things. Um, yeah. Wait, am I done? Thanks to Limp Bizkit for hollering Faith in the background. I really appreciate it. It kind of like raised my spirits. I hope I don't get in trouble. I'm not making any money on this channel's not monetized. That that is Limp Bizkit's music. I don't know who wrote it, but they did. It weren't me. I am owed nothing. I'm borrowing it. That's all I have to say. Thank you and good night.